Nothing's off limits with this duo. It's father and daughter, Dawn and Cher. And join the club if you're a Chattermouth.
Hey y'all, it's Cher and
Dawn.
And welcome back to the
Chattermouth Podcast.
We're so excited to be here today. I feel like this is always my favorite time of the day.
I love just chatting about everything and personal things. And
yes. Belle is in school now, and it's crazy to me. You know, every time I drop her off, I get so nervous about everything. Like, I just don't like the idea of school, but I know school is so important, and I struggle with that. You know, I really am struggling right now with that.
But school is important. It really is. It's learning how to socialize with other children, and it's learning all that.
I go back and forth with how important school is. Jared always feels like, my husband always feels going to school is so important. They have to learn, and I feel like there's I don't know. I like having my time to do things.
That's
but the other part of me is like, I miss having you, and I struggle with worrying about school. Everyone says children need to go to school to socialize, but I feel that I had my most, all my confidence issues come from going to school.
Well, it's interesting.
Is that really a good thing to send your kids to school?
It's an interesting thing that you just said that, because I have a lot of terrible memories of school with bullying and picking on me, and a lot of things that has really honestly made me self-conscious of myself. And the mean kids that are in school that kind of really hurt me and really kind of stays with you forever.
It's so interesting how the first 18 years of your life are truly the most crucial in your life. Like, why do those 18 years impact us so much more than like the next 18 years of our life?
I think the next 18 years of your life, you're older and you're wiser and you don't care as much, or you're just different attitude.
If you were to like do school all over again, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? I don't know. I would just want those mean girls to go away. I guess that's what I would want. I think I'd want to be stronger, not look like I'm scared of them, be able to speak my mind more. I didn't.
Did you come home? Like, would you tell your parents that you were upset? Like, what would you do?
I did. I would come home. Not all the time tell them.
It's so interesting that you felt like you were bullied in school, but yet you were so focused. Like, I went to a private school from kindergarten to 5th grade, and I have fond memories of it. Looking back, I think it was a good experience for certain parts of it. But during those school years, there was 20 kids in the whole class. Like, literally every single year, it was the same 20 kids. And even though those kids are good kids, like, there is more drama, I think, when you have like 20 kids, the same kids, more bullying that goes on because it is the same 20 kids, and you can feel left out so much more.
It's so interesting. I never thought of it that way when you were in school, because you were very, very tiny, and you didn't really get your growth spurt until later on, really later on.
Yeah.
So I felt in that environment, you were safe. You weren't going to be bullied the way I was bullied when I was little.
I think I was. I feel like it was worse. I was always called shrimp. I remember feeling like I remember coming home every day and like crying to you, begging for you to move schools, and you refused to do it.
I did do it in middle school.
Eventually, when I finally got to middle school, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not doing it. And my parents finally moved me to a new school. But I remember at my birthday party, my birthday's in the summer, right? It's in August, and then you start school. And so everyone from my old school came to my birthday party. And I remember my mom going around and telling kids, like, tell Cher you really want her to come back to school with you. You were trying to convince the kids to convince me not to go to a new school.
Well, that's because you were going to a new school. Let's get the story straight here. From middle school. And I think middle school is the hardest years. The kids, to me, are the worst during middle school. Maybe because I had that experience. So I was so afraid for you to go to a public middle school where I don't have any control over the situations if the kids become very mean. I actually said to the principal of your private school that if there was a problem or if we weren't happy, we will come back. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And I was like, I'm never coming back here. And I was so glad because middle school ended up being like the best years of my schooling. Like I loved middle school. But it's so interesting because she sent me to this middle school that is like known, and like I'm saying in quotes, like known to be kind of like the bad middle school.
Well, that's because you were zoned for it. You had to go to your zoning school.
We tried different schools. She had me like follow around like different kids during the day, like
Yes.
go and like shadow different schools. And I
Yes.
remember there was always like these big fights would break out.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, like what am I getting myself into? But I loved middle school. I felt
I know
I
you
grew so
did.
much during middle school. It's so interesting, you know?
Yeah, you had a wonderful experience, which to me was very unusual.
But that's because I was just so ready for it. I'm like, I'm going to have the best experience because there is no alternative. I am never going back to that private school.
It's so funny because I hated middle school so much. I used to have to walk home, and I was afraid of walking home. I thought I was going to get like beaten up
Like jumped or something.
and jumped.
But
I
that never
really
happened,
did.
right?
Well, sometimes they would like be close or whatever, and I don't know. I was always afraid in middle school. I hated it.
I just know that if my daughter ever comes to me one day and is like saying she's getting bullied in school, she's like out that door. Like I would never keep her in a school where she's getting bullied. I feel like what happens at school, like we're not there to protect them.
Right.
And so we have to like believe our children, and also like that's where the self-conscious, like the confidence issues comes from. I feel like a lot of times is school. And so I struggle with the whole, like, you should send your kids to school for socialization, but like, why can't you just send them to dance class for socialization or gymnastics class for socialization? You know, there's other ways to socialize. I don't know.
I don't
go
know.
back and forth. I'm really back and forth.
The thing with school is if you do have a good experience, which I didn't, but if you do, you're really meeting a lot of different kids with different personalities,
Yeah,
and you really do
totally.
grow.
Who here on this podcast, please email us. Let us know, like, who here has had like a really good full schooling experience? Is there anybody who's never experienced bullying before? Because I feel like we've all experienced some form of bullying during our school years, and that shaped us into who we are today. Whether it's good or bad, it still shaped us into who we are today.
But to be honest with you, by being bullied the way I was, and I really was, I think I got stronger.
But
did
you need to be? Is that a
No,
good thing?
no, but it did.
Way to
I
look at
think
the
it
bright
did
side,
shape my personality even more because I became more attuned to what I later on. This is not during the bullying stage. Don't get me wrong, but I am like, I think inside I'm a strong person now, and I think that I don't care as much what everybody says. Sometimes I do, but not always. And I don't know. I feel like I think I have a lot of common sense. I wonder if I would have all this common sense if I didn't go to school. I think you learn so much,
do
even though
learn a
you
lot.
have. I didn't have the best of experiences. I think I did learn a lot.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. You definitely learned so much in school. Recently, Belle's been asking me like questions like, how are babies born?
Really?
Yeah, and she's like,
in
so
kindergarten?
Well, I knew about that stuff in kindergarten.
Well,
though.
you've always asked me
No,
things.
I know, but also I had two older brothers, so like I
Oh.
think I was the one in kindergarten like teaching everybody else like this is what really happens. Like I was that person. I think it's because I had two brothers. I don't know, but she started asking me like, how do they come? Like I don't know. Like she's like, I'm like in my belly. She's like, but how does it get put in your belly? And it's like so awkward. Like I don't want to like tell her yet. I feel like she's too
But you can't
young.
lie about
I
it.
know,
You
I
just
kind
have to make it matter of fact.
But I've just like been avoiding the question. I just recently got a book. Someone lent me a book to like try to explain it, like a scientific version of the book explaining
I think
things.
you have one in your armoire at home.
No, I think that's about like growing boobs or something.
Oh.
But we're like, how do you get boobs? Like, why does hair come? Things like that.
Right.
But, yeah. So I know because she's gonna learn in school otherwise.
You don't want her to learn in school. You want her to learn from you.
Right. Exactly. So I have to. Like, it's so weird.
I know.
We're growing
Well, you
up.
just have to say it like I did with you, very like
Matter-of-fact.
matter of factly. Don't make a whole issue of it, and then move on.
Right. so
It's
awkward.
hard, but you want
How
her
did
to be
you
able
learn that stuff? I can't imagine your parents telling you.
You know, honestly, my parents, my mother, we never talked about sex ever, 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 even when I was older. I wish we did, but yet we were very close. It's a weird because we didn't talk about that, but yet we were very close. I mean, I did speak to her all the time later on, but no, I wish we did, though.
I'm glad that my mom talked to me about sex when I was younger because she explained things for me. I was able to come to her and ask questions. Even though it's so awkward to have these conversations with your mom, who better to explain to you about these things than somebody that you can trust? Otherwise, you're going to learn on the bus, or your children are going to learn in different ways, and so you'd rather hear it like matter of factly.
Well, you were so cute because you would come and ask me really want to get into it and not uncomfortable to talk to me.
I don't remember this.
You weren't uncomfortable. I was really inside so uncomfortable, but I didn't show it to you. But you were not uncomfortable at all. You just asked me all these intimate questions.
I guess because I didn't know at the time what it was. So to me, it wasn't like a big deal. I think
so
people turn sex into a big deal by getting scared away from the conversations, right?
Right, I guess
to them, a child, they're like, well, I don't understand. Like, what is it?
Right.
What does this mean? Like,
right,
you know?
right.
It's
I
really
guess
interesting.
so. But you were just very comfortable asking me, about a blowjob or whatever,
I don't know.
oral
That's
sex
now.
or everything.
That's embarrassing now. It's interesting how times have changed so much from like your day to my day with like parenting styles in kids. Like now my generation is very into like the whole gentle parenting, and that's like what I am very.
Yeah, and in
your generation.
In my generation, we believe. Well, Daddy believed in spanking.
Yeah,
Spanking. He
spanked.
says you weren't
I was spanked
really
too.
spanked. I always kept you from being spanked.
No,
I
you did
grabbed
too.
you.
No, you did.
And
I
ran.
Did. Everybody, we were all spanked in our family because that's like how it was back in the day, which I do not agree with. I will never spank my child.
Well,
ever.
Daddy always felt that the only way to really make them understand is spanking.
By hurting someone, it's not the way.
But
nowadays in our generation, it's like very, very different. Like
yes,
you do not teach a child to do something by hurting the child, because then what are you teaching them? You're showing the child that it's okay to hurt someone else to get your point across. Like how is that? Does that make sense? In my opinion, that doesn't make sense. And I know some people are all for spanking, but I am very much against it, because why would you want to don't teach a child saying it's okay for your mom or dad, the person who love you the most, supposed to be loving you the most, to go ahead and hurt you.
So
that
how
just
do you
turns fear.
So what
They're
do you do?
Scared of you. I think the most important thing when your child is doing something you don't agree with is to get on their level, eye to eye, and talk to your child. Really have the conversation. Have them paying straight attention to you, eye to eye, and have that conversation. You don't need to instill fear. You don't want them scared of their parents. You want them to be able to come to their parents.
I think you all still came to me. I do, even though Daddy, I never spanked you.
No, but I think that something that you did, I don't agree with, and I think it's hard as parents. And I see a lot of my friends do this. When your dad gets home, the mom will say, when your dad, I'm going to tell your dad on you.
Yeah.
That's just instilling fear to the child of their father, when you should both be on the same wavelengths at all times, which is sometimes very hard to do. But there should not be one parent that's the bad guy versus the other.
Well, I think what's really important in front of the child, you don't disagree on the parenting skill, or you don't disagree on whatever. You can do that in private. But Daddy sometimes did that with me in front of the kids.
I don't agree with you. Daddy did not do that. I remember something that was bothersome, and I think your parents did the same thing, is that sometimes you would tell Daddy you were mad at us for something, and he would just be mad at us, but he didn't even know what was going on.
Right,
and I was like, he really has your back here. But so I don't agree. I think, that's a hard one. You want to feel like you want the child to know they have a voice. I want my daughter to always feel like she has a voice too. And we're a unit. We're going to work through this together.
Well, I think that too. I mean, we did work through units together and things that had happened with, like when a terrible incident would happen with one of my sons, like, and he hurt someone's arm. We were right there to help him through that. And it was an accident, and he was afraid to come to tell me, but then once he told me, even though we already knew from the principal, we made it, we made it better.
Yeah.
Sorry to pause the podcast, but if you're loving our podcast, then you'll love our book, and we have to tell you a little about it.
Actually, we wrote this book, and it's about how we got this close and how you can too.
It's called A Bond That Lasts Forever, and basically it goes over our life's ups and downs. It shows pictures throughout our life and has adorable quotes throughout to inspire other mothers and daughters to have their own special relationship. You can pick it up on Amazon.com, at Barnes & Nobles, or wherever you get your books. Now, let's get back to the podcast.
It's interesting how like times do change. Nowadays, kids have iPads and everyone has to learn how to use the computer. Like, are they even learning cursive in schools anymore? I don't know.
It's so true. And what about math? I mean, you have calculators.
Yes.
It's so different
growing
now.
Up in school, I remember the math teacher would always say, well, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket. Nowadays, it's like, well, actually, yes, I am going to have a calculator in my pocket.
I don't think they need to know how to, add and subtract and all. It's a shame because let me tell you something. When Daddy and I had our medical business, and we had to hire the front desk girl, the receptionist, and she would have to collect the co-pays, the money to come in. It's so interesting how many young girls in their 20s do not know how to give out change. Because they never did it in school, so I understood.
Yes. So this is the issue with
school. It's so weird to me.
I feel like in schools, a lot of times we're learning the wrong things.
I agree with that.
Like, we should learn how to, like, do things that we actually use in real life, like giving out change.
Yes.
I never practiced that in school.
Right.
That should be taught. But I'm learning pre-calculus, which I've never used since.
Right. Well, what it is, if you work, let's say, in Target or the supermarket, it automatically tells you what change to give. But if you have to actually work where there's no cashier or computer to tell you that, nobody knows.
So interesting.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. I think sometimes we're learning the wrong things, though. Like, for example, when you're in school, you're not taking, like, unless you're specifically going to business, like a lot of times, for example, physicians, a lot of times doctors have their own businesses, but they're learning all the science classes and they're not learning the business classes. And in order to become a successful doctor, you have to know how to run a business to be a doctor. And so they're not learning those things. Same thing with, with kids or with going into college. Like, I never knew how to work an ATM machine until until Jared taught me how to use it, work at an ATM, a debit card, or writing a check. I've done that very few times in school practicing. Like, there's certain, or budgeting or stocks, like all of these things we should be learning. And I wish they were, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, there's so much to learn,
but
there
why
really
are we
is.
spending so much time on like geometry unless we're going into that, into that field?
Maybe it just makes you think more. Maybe it's for thinking. I don't know that answer for that, to be honest. It's funny that you say that. I asked that to Daddy a few days ago. Like, why did we have to learn trigonometry and calculus? But I think it's to show that you can work your mind in different avenues. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. It's interesting. In your day, you never learned how to like type on a computer. And now all the kids have iPads in school. In Bell School, they all have iPads that they have to work on.
It's a whole new world. Everything is technology. And I am so bad with technology. I think you need to grow with technology. I mean, they will be even better than you will be at your age. So the world is now technology. But there was no such thing as that, during my time. So to first learn it at my age is so much more difficult.
I think learning anything when you're older is definitely more difficult as well.
Right. You're used to your old ways.
Yeah. But even like cooking, there should be cooking classes, or I don't know. I feel like there should be more. But I guess you do that outside of school.
Well,
like
they do have in
extracurriculars.
high school, you can take a cooking class. I remember I took a cooking class in high school, and I took a sewing class in high school.
I don't even know how to sew.
Well,
I have no idea how to sew.
To be honest, in my time of day when we had sewing classes, everything was for righties, and they didn't have lefty scissors. I mean, now I'm really aging myself.
Yeah.
And it was the worst experience of my life because I couldn't cut the material. I couldn't do anything. And I'll never forget the teacher was saying, why can't you cut it with like just fold? Because I didn't have a lefty scissor, and it was just so difficult because no one was able to teach me, and I couldn't learn righty. I was a lefty.
Yeah.
It was very hard for a lefty.
That is tough. Yeah, I think that's still changing. Like, I remember even when I was in school, like, they would have the desks with, like, for the right-handed people where it went around you, and I was a lefty as well. I still swear, I think I'm actually a right-handed righty, but I've copied you since I was so young.
How
to
could
become
that
a lefty.
be?
I really believe so. I skateboard like a righty. I cut scissors like I'm right-handed.
Do you? You cut with your right hand the
I
scissor?
wakeboard like I'm a righty. Yes, I kick a ball like a righty. But I write with my left hand.
And it's
I
the
have
worst
the
handwriting.
worst handwriting ever. Like, it's so embarrassing.
Have you tried to write with your right hand?
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, that's hard to do. Of course, I've been trained to do lefty. But I'm always so embarrassed. Like, sometimes I'm out, which is so funny. Like, I've been asked to, like, sign an autograph before.
Yes.
And I'm always very embarrassed because they're like, can you write, like, to whoever, like, their name is? And I'm like, I have the worst handwriting ever. This is so embarrassing, you know? So
your handwriting never
like,
grew
can
up.
I type it for you? Yeah.
It's still like a child's handwriting.
No.
But do you do everything righty now? Except for writing? Your name?
I think I cut. I don't know. If you're going to cut something, you use your left hand, right?
Yeah, I use everything
I use
lefty.
left for cutting and my fork to feed myself. But I think those are things I've trained myself to do.
So
I don't know. I
interesting.
wonder.
You might just be ambidextrous.
Yeah.
Both sides.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
There are people like that.
Yeah,
that could
I always think
use
that's
both
so cool.
hands.
But I can't write with my other hand, so.
But you could do a lot other things. I see. I'm a total lefty. I could only my left side is so much stronger than my right side.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Ugh, I'm so glad I'm not in school anymore, though. I still sometimes have nightmares that I'm late for a test. Like,
Really? You were never late
have
for a
this
test.
all the time.
You're always late for
Well, I'm
everything.
like everything. No, it's more so that, like, there's a test going on. I'm getting back in my portable. We had portables back in the day. It's pre-calc. And I'm late. And I get there. And they're like, Cher, did you, like, take out your pencil? It's time for a test. And I'm like, oh, I didn't study. I totally forgot to study.
Oh, so
it's either
funny.
that dream or it's a dream where I've been going to school and I forgot to go to my science class or math class. I always forget to go to this one class, and it's time to get your report cards, and I have an F because I never went to class. So I always have this same terrible dream. So I'm just glad I'm done with school.
Well, you know what I always have is I always dress so nerdy because my mother would make me wear these ugly things. So I used to try to go to the mall by myself and get things. But the way you dress for school and to fit in is very important.
What do you mean?
But that you dress more hip, or you have cute sneakers, or you have normal looking things. Otherwise, I think it's easier to get bullied.
Mm-hmm. Belle is so picky with what she wears. I am not allowed to dress her at all. Some people still dress their 5-year-olds. I am not allowed to pick
She
out her
has a
clothes.
lot of style. Does she pick out her clothes every
All
day
of
for
her-
school?
Every day. She picks out her own clothes. I
from
can't even,
from top to bottom?
everything. She gets herself dressed. She loves it. She tells me what hairstyle to do.
Oh, wow.
She's very independent in
That's
that way.
wonderful.
Yeah, she
That's
loves to
wonderful.
dress
But then
up.
what about the schools that have uniforms? And a lot of them do today.
Right, she wouldn't be able to go there. She does not like that. She's like, only dresses, only really pretty dresses.
Very
But
cute.
there's been a lot of talk. So recently there's different companies. For example, I saw this documentary recently from a place called Shein. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
And
yes.
they're saying that a lot of the clothes have toxic chemicals in them, like lead
Really?
All different. Yeah, it's very toxic.
Really?
They tested a child's purse that comes like you can order like different purses.
Really?
And it was like 7 times the amount of lead that should be on a child's purse.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I've
it was so
never
bad.
heard of
And
that.
just before school started, they have. First of all, Shein has like the cheapest clothes, and
Yes.
some of the stuff is so cute and
So
such
cute.
Belle style and like so cute.
Yes.
But after seeing this documentary, I had just bought a box, $200 worth of clothes, and I like got everything, and I was like, oh, I can't now. I'm too scared. I had to send it all back. I'm too scared to give it to her, and I really wanted to.
How does the clothes get toxic? I don't really
the
understand.
way they like dye the dyes in the clothes? I think it's the dyes. Everything is. Yeah, I don't know. The shoes especially, they said.
You could go crazy with all that
I
stuff. Like,
know.
where's the limit? They do it with food. I mean, all the food. Like, what can you eat today now? You know, what can you? Everything is bad. What's good? I mean, you can't be so neurotic with that stuff.
I know. It's hard, though, because once you know something is bad, it's hard to not, like, look into it.
Well,
hard to not
it's
think
funny
about it.
because when you were all young, you and the boys, I wouldn't let you have sneakers that had lights under it
Right,
because I
light-up
said the
shoes.
lights, they're going to come out in 10 years from now that's causing radiation on you. And
Yeah.
so I wouldn't do it. But yet you have lights on Belle
They
shoes.
haven't come out with that. And it's been 20 years, 30 years. They've never come out with that.
Is that
so-
why?
Yeah, they never came out with it.
Oh, that's so
I
funny.
looked
I
into
always
it. It said it's
wondered why
fine.
you allowed that.
Because I really wanted light-up shoes growing up, and I was the only kid that didn't have light-up shoes. And when Belle saw light-up shoes
No.
for the longest time, I wouldn't let her have them. And then I read about it, and I'm like, it doesn't say anything about radiation. It's been 30 years. Like, I'm sure it's okay by now.
Oh, that's so funny. I always wondered about
Yeah.
that. I really did.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
But yeah, everything is bad. You just have to, like, pick your poison, I guess.
I guess
right?
so.
You pick your poison.
Right. Talking about, sneakers and this and that,
Yeah.
your hair got so much lighter. It's
Oh,
so
that's
pretty.
so
It
random.
makes me think about maybe I should make my hair lighter.
I don't know if you guys can even see it. We talked about this in our last, like, one of our other episodes, but I really is a lot lighter. I don't know how you would look. I don't. Yeah,
Well, I
I've never
probably
seen
look
it.
like you. So
I guess so. So what do you think?
I find it so weird because the other day you opened my phone just by your face.
Yes, I can.
That was the
I
weirdest
can
thing
do
ever.
that. Really, I could just take her phone and I can just like open it.
I can't keep
And it
any
works.
secrets from her. She could just open my
Yeah,
phone.
seriously, that is so funny. It can, yeah, it just works. I
I
know
know-
you changed your phone password. I was like, what the heck? So then it just opened automatically with your face. So it
I
all
can't
worked out
keep any
fine.
secrets from her ever.
Isn't that weird? I thought that the phone technology like doesn't do that. But
Right. But it's funny how light your hair got. It was fun. I can't get over it because, always we have the same color hair. And now it's so light.
Yeah.
I'm saying, well, maybe I should try that and see how
I
it
don't
looks.
know if your hair would work. I think you'd have to like bleach it to get lighter.
I don't know. Your hair got light. You didn't bleach it.
I think because this is like my natural hair color and I've been in the chlorine like every day we go swimming.
Oh, the
and in
chlorine
sun.
does it.
I feel like my hair is in really bad condition though right now and I need to cut it, but I'm scared to cut it because everybody is always like just trim your hair and it'll
Just
grow.
trim. Yes,
But
I
the
agree.
problem is if you trim, you cut it shorter, then it's going to take so much longer to grow back. My hair doesn't just grow. It's like
But
the
it grows
same
from
length
your
forever.
root of your hair, your top, your
Right,
scalp.
but it's not growing fast.
Because it's breaking on the bottom, so it's getting shorter
if I
that
trim
way.
it,
Just
it's gonna
trim it. Don't
You're
cut it.
telling me to trim it on air, yet 2 seconds before air, you're like, let me trim it for you.
I
You're
would trim
telling
it.
me not to go get a professional trim.
No, I don't want you to get a professional
But,
trim.
then
I
you
want to
don't
do
know
it.
how to
I'm saying
do
to
it.
trim it, but it's me to trim it for you, not
That's
going
a
somewhere.
pretend trim. It's not a real trim. I need like a real trim.
Well, then you're going to really cut it, and then you're going to feel bad.
I know, but I'm so torn on what to do.
Yeah.
Ay. Anyways, oh my goodness. This was a fun episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Now I have to go decide if I should go to a real haircut or have my mom do it.
I should do it.
What do you guys think? I'm
Yeah.
going to pull up. Who should
Yes.
get my haircut?
Me.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Chattermouth Podcast. If you like this podcast, please give it a subscribe. Please subscribe and please rate it a 5 stars. We really appreciate it. And leave a review so we can read it. We read every single one.
Yes,
It
we
means
do.
so much to us. Anyways, if you have any ideas for future episodes that you want us to talk about, send us a message. We
Yes.
love hearing from you guys. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.